Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Ferg Chat. We are here today with an amazing stand-up comedian, Tyler Morrison. Almost a month from Ric Flair, from the roast of Ric Flair and Ric Flair's last match and everything. How's stand-up life been treating you? Had any shows been going on and whatnot?
Yeah, it's been great. That doesn't seem like it was that long ago, but it's like it was just such a wild weekend. Still kind of just like processing, all the good stuff that happened throughout the course of Nashville and all the different events that I was able to attend. It's good being, back doing some stand-up shows and I'm in full roast mode doing like another roast TV show right now. So I rolled right from that into the roast stuff.
Oh, cool, man.
From the Flair roast to like roast battle stuff. So it's been good that way too.
Oh yeah. So is that like your normal when you do you do a lot of crowd work or do you write a lot of bits or
I mostly do jokes and like bits. Yeah, I don't do a ton of crowd work. A little bit. If there's something I notice, I'll definitely point it out, and I'm not afraid to talk to the audience. But I do like focus a lot on material.
Yeah, I
That's
got
the
you.
most
That's cool,
fun for
man.
me. Yeah.
That's cool. So are you staying out in LA near Earl and them, or where are you staying at? Like what roundabouts of the country?
So I live in Canada actually. I live
Really?
north of Toronto, about 2 hours in a place called Muskoka. Very kind of like rural area, I guess. It's it's a little bit off the radar in terms of comedy. But I started my career in Toronto, and I just travel everywhere now that once I got established, I was able to kind of move
Yeah,
back to my hometown and set up shop.
that's awesome. So, man, Canada, what's that like compared to the U.S.? Any different, or is it pretty much the same? Or
Um, there's little differences. I feel like in Canada, it's a lot tougher to tour because there's fewer major cities. Like they're all further apart too. So there's great distances between our bigger cities. So to travel the country is a little bit more challenging. Whereas in America, you can hit a bunch of cities in the short proximity, and
yeah,
it's great that way. Canadians in comedy, I don't know, like Americans are definitely more opinionated with things. So it's like it seems a little more divided when you're in America. Like if you're going to talk about, politically charged topics, you
yeah,
know that you're either going to piss someone off or they're going to be, on board
yeah.
like fully. Whereas Canada, it's a little bit more people don't commit as much to like those type of rigid stances. I think they're a little maybe more open minded. But America, I do think that they appreciate edgier comedy more than Canadian.
Who's got better food in your opinion?
Oh, I mean, America, you got deep fry everything.
What's your favorite deep fried monstrosity that you've gotten to try?
Oh, I don't know. I couldn't even.
For me growing up, we always had like the carnivals and the fairs come around, and I always like the deep fried Oreos, man.
Oh my God, yeah. That
That's
sounds
great.
good.
So what are you working on now? Are you just doing stand up? You have any other side projects got going on? What's that looking
I,
like?
I do have a few different projects that I'm working on. So yeah, stand up is a big part of what I do. I also have a record label called Cottage Comedy Digital, and we
Okay.
produce albums with a lot of Canadian comics. So I work with other comedians to produce their albums and distribute them and get them as much notoriety as we can. I also just started a record label in the U.S. with John Moses, who is also on the Ric Flair roast. It's called
Yeah.
Black Label Records, and so we're just starting that up, which is nice. Um, I
Nice.
also have a company that I've been developing the last year. It started in the pandemic. It's called Decentral Comedy, and we're the first comedy club in the metaverse of Decentraland.
Yeah.
So we've been kind of pioneering stand-up comedy in the metaverse and working with a whole bunch of different very innovative tech partners to bring comedy to the blockchain and create kind of like a new um, platform for comedians to get their comedy out there to, new audiences in an interactive way with, all this cool new tech that's happening around it. It's been an exciting process to learn about that.
Yeah.
We were locked down a little longer in Canada, so
Oh,
we were
really?
able to produce shows in New York and stream them, but we couldn't do stand up here. So,
Yeah.
we're just trying to find innovative ways around being locked down at the time. And then I just got fully into it. I was, really interested in applying my knowledge as a comic and a producer into, this new tech platform that people are getting into, and it's only going to grow from where it is.
Oh yeah, dude, that's awesome, man. To see you, branching out in comedy in a new way. Give me 1 second. I do apologize.
Yeah, no problem.
Oh, but yeah, man, to see you trying to transform comedy almost into the way that they transformed music, to be able to make sure as many people can hear as much comedy as possible. Possible. That's awesome, dude.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I love doing it. I produced a comedy festival up in my area. I started it when I was like 23, and we've been doing it for I don't know how many years now. Like I guess we got to be over 15 years now. We've been doing Cottage Country Comedy Festival and the Dark Comedy Festival in Toronto. I'm involved in
Yeah.
that as well. So just like having all these different um, I guess comedy vehicles that we can, merge them together, and one hand washes the other. It's been awesome to be set up to test it out. And we have shows that are happening all the time in Toronto, and all this content that we're able to create and test it out with this new technology. It's been fortunate for us to, that I'm in that position
Yeah.
when this opportunity came along. So
Yeah. So on average, how often like are you traveling right now? Like is that every week, every other week?
yeah, it's usually every week, like Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I try and do as much weekend stuff as possible.
Yeah.
Um, like I got two kids, so I'm home a lot of the time during the week. I shuttle them to school and back, and my wife's a teacher, so she's working during the week, and then on the weekend, I break away and I'll just travel wherever I got to go, wherever the gig is.
Oh yeah, I
So
get that. I'm a father of two myself, man. I got a boy
yeah,
and a girl.
nice.
What's that? What's that? How old are your kids? Well, if you don't mind me asking.
Yeah, they're 7 and 4,
Oh,
so fun
that's
ages.
good. That's prime ages. That's like pure comedy, like comedic material every waking moment almost.
Oh yeah, yeah, they're already making fun of me now, so it's
I'm glad to see I'm not the only one. Mine are 6 and 3, so I'm literally
oh
right
cool.
behind you.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's crazy. Like my son. We paused here a second ago. My son came into frame, and he was wondering when I was going to go lay down with him. And he kids are a mess, man. The other day we got a dog, and she's a little wiener dog, and I was kind of in like a pissy mood or whatever, and she kept going exactly like where I was trying to sit, and I'm just like, oh my God, you fat black bitch. I was like, I need you to move. And my son's like, hey, that's not her name. Her name's Daisy. Just just pure as can be, man. Kids are just they're something
Yeah,
else.
they hear everything, and they they will repeat it.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. What you got any good kid stories right now that you can share?
Yeah, I'll try to think of something that I always have to like curb my road rage when I got the kids in the car, which is like probably one of the hardest things ever for me.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And we were at like a drive-through one day, and this woman cuts me off, like cuts in front of me in the line, and I'm pissed. I'm just gripping the wheel, about to rip it right out, and I see her in front of me, and I see her like open up her window, and she's like dumping out like the cigarette butts from the ashtray just on the
Yeah.
ground, and her pig husband is like throwing garbage out at his door, like just littering right in the drive-through. Like these people are like human waste.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I'm like, oh fuck these people. I'm getting so mad. I'm not swearing though. I've been, the kids in the back, I'm trying real hard to be a good dad here. So I
Yeah.
just wait and I wait for her to pull up to the speaker box and she goes to order her food. And right when she goes to order her food, I just hammer on the horn. And I'm just holding the horn so down so loud. And like every time she tries to talk, beep, 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 just trying to throw her off. And then and she was rattled for sure. And I was having so much fun just terrorizing her.
Oh yeah.
And by the time we ended up getting our food, we pull back out onto the main road in our town, and we're driving. We're heading kind of out of town, and I realize she's still in front of me, so I'm like following this lady. Now I'm like a real psychopath. It wasn't my intention. We were just going the same way, so I'm like, oh, I'll have some more fun with her too, and so I wait like I'm like kind of inching up like as close as I can, just let she knows I'm there. And
Yeah.
right before I turn off, I just hammer the horn down again, like beep 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 beep. I just hear my kid in the back go beep 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 beep. I totally forgot the kid was in the back. Like
Oh my God, that's just classic road rage. Oh, that's great.
now in America, you don't do that because the person probably has a gun. In Canada, like, you can
Yeah.
probably do that type of shit a little bit more. I don't recommend that in the US. It's a little bit more they're a little more
Yeah,
trigger happy.
it's weird. Like I live in the South. I live in the Southeast. So like when I went to Tennessee, where we met, it was only like a 6 hour drive.
Hmm.
And yeah, you just some of these southern places, especially like you just got to let your crazy be shown too.
Yeah.
That's with you. Like I saw this video of this one guy and he's at Popeyes. He's flipping out. And the other guy's like, "Hey man, why don't you come down?" He's like, "You get back in your damn car." He's like, "You don't know me like that. You don't know me like that." It's just yeah, just people are crazy, man. You don't know. You don't know these days.
It's true. It's true. You do like, I'm 38. I've been around long enough. I've been in enough street fights that I don't want to get in anymore.
Yeah. What was your last? When was your last tussle? Your last fight?
Oh, a long time ago. I would say, I mean, I got to be coming up like 12 years fight free, which is like, that's a long time for
Good.
me. Like I was throwing down back in the day a little bit. I loved
Yeah.
it. That's why I got a podcast called Fight Stories that John Moses and I host, and we go around and we interview all kinds of different fighters and get their stories, and it's a pretty fun show.
Oh yeah, that sounds. I'll have to check that out. You saw Fight Stories, you and John Moses. Yeah, I'll have to check
Yeah,
that
it's
out.
all on YouTube. So we interview all different types of fighters. So we interview, UFC legends like Ken Shamrock, or we have like NHL hockey enforcers. We have average Joes, just like street fighters, construction workers, you name it. Like anyone that we hear about that has a good story. And then we have a bunch of like, the top comedians um, come on and tell their stories, and they're always funny too. So we've had
Who is
guys like
that?
Andrew Schultz and Dan Soder and Artie
Oh yeah.
Lang on
I
the
feel
podcast.
like I feel like every good comedian probably has at least one good fight story, if not
Yeah,
more.
usually getting their ass kicked too.
Oh yeah.
Those are more fun, actually. The stories about the losses are always way funnier than the wins.
Oh yeah. I mean, yeah, it's cool to hear about how you beat up this guy and whatnot, but there's definitely more of a humor aspect to it of like, yeah, I was talking all this shit, then I got my bell rung.
Yeah, one of my favorite fight stories that I've heard from doing the podcast, and this is kind of a secondhand story. The guy didn't tell me it himself, but a friend who was there told the story. This guy Billy he's at like a hockey tournament, like a men's league hockey tournament. So it's all like older dudes, from their mid 30s up to their 60s playing in this tournament, and it's an overnight tournament. So they're down in some town where they're not from, and they're staying in a hotel. And this guy Billy gets completely wasted, and he can't find his hotel room, so he's just walking around the hotel, knocking on every door to see if it's his room. Just going door to door, knocking to see if it's his room. And he knocks on this one guy's door. And the guy's like, "Buddy, this isn't your hotel room. I don't want you coming back here. Okay, you've been
Yeah.
warned. Fuck off." So the guy comes back around. Billy does the whole lap of the whole hotel, Sure enough, comes right back around to this guy's door, knocks on it again. The guy's like, I told you, fuck off. Don't knock on this door again. Does the lap of the whole hotel, comes back, knocks on the door. The guy opens up the door and just punches Billy right in the face, just decks him, goes down, and like a bunch of guys come out of their rooms. It's like they're just breaking it up. They're kind of like straightening him out. They get him back to his room. The next day, it's in the morning. They're at the arena. There's games going on, and Billy's standing there, and one of the guys who's like my friend that told me about this, he's there, and he sees the guy that punched Billy. He's like, Billy, that's the guy. That's the guy that decked you last night at the hotel. He's like, oh, are you fucking serious? He's like, yeah, that's the guy right there. So Billy goes, he stands at like every hockey arena. They usually have like a little vestibule area with like this electronic sliding doors, kind of like when you go into a grocery store. But there's that little like area in between. I think it just like, I don't know why they have that. I guess to keep the heat in or something. But anyway, he's waiting in this little area for the guy to walk out, and the guy comes walking out with his hockey bag, and Billy's right there and just punches the guy right in the face, just takes him down and just starts feeding him bombs. He's starting up the lawnmower on this guy. Billy just pounded him in the face, and all of a sudden the woman yells, "Stop it! Stop it! He only has one arm." Billy's about to hit him, looks up and goes, "Yeah, that's the fucking one he hit me with." And I just started pounding him again.
Yeah, well, missing a beat. Just yep.
Yeah.
That's the one that got me.
So stories like that always, I love hearing like those classics, and they definitely fuel the podcast. Whenever you get something like that, it makes for such a great episode. And we just keep our ears open because John and I tour all over the place. And sometimes when we're touring together, we'll go to like a small city and be like, hey, who's the toughest guy in this town, to like the bartender. And they're like, oh, you got to meet Pierre. The next thing you know, we're hanging out with this guy, Pierre, and he's got like over 200 street fights, and he's just telling us the craziest shit we've ever heard. So it's kind of like that. Like we really do try and get like the average Joes. We love those stories. The local legends, we call them. I love getting those ones.
Yeah, that's cool, man. That's cool. That's awesome. Yeah, I've between you and when I did a interview with Earl last week, Earl Skakel.
Oh, nice. Earl's the man.
Oh yeah, and yeah, shout out to Earl. And we've been talking a lot about John Moses, so I got to reach out to him. So I want to get him on an episode here soon for sure.
Oh yeah, he's classic. Johnny's the best. Yeah, you'll love
it's
that.
funny. We follow each other on Twitter, and it's just I cannot help but laugh every time I see him tweet. He cracks me up.
Oh yeah, he's from Toronto too. That's where we both started. Now he lives in New Jersey. He's been in America for, I want to say, like 15 years probably. Okay. So, or maybe longer actually. He's probably been down there close to 20 years, because when I started comedy in Toronto, we came up in like the same like circuit, the same like small group of comics, but he left to go to America right when I was starting comedy. So we never crossed paths before, but we really came up with the exact same like crew of people, which is weird. And then
wow, that's crazy.
No, I never saw him until I saw a video of him like killing it at Caroline's in New York. I'm like, oh, who's this guy? And then I found out he's Canadian.
Yeah.
And we've been friends ever since. I brought him up to my festival, and
awesome.
Yeah, it was really cool, like being able to have him on Flair Roast too, and do that with him. That was great.
You got any good backs? I know when we talked backstage, you told me you helped a good hand in the writing. You got any other stories, things you can put in on that?
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting. Like, if anyone who saw the roast knows it was a little bit of a, like, there's some wild cards on there. It's a little bit of a circus, but it was fun. And when I'm writing on a roast, like, obviously I want to come and be hard hitting and do what I do, but I'm also, if I'm writing for other people on the roast, I feel an obligation to arm them as best they can. So I'm almost like creating like my act, which is the disease, and then I got to create the antidote for these people to like combat me and what I'm about to do, because I don't think it's like, they have no idea. A lot of people who are, not comedians, they don't understand like the type of blood sport that roasting is.
Yeah.
And so like they don't really get that it's it's gonna be ruthless up there, and you got to be ruthless too. You get like I go into a roast with the mindset like I'm gonna be the biggest bully on the block, and no one's gonna touch me, and I don't give a shit, and I'm gonna steamroll everyone. But I want the people I'm writing for to adopt that attitude as well. Like if you look at the celebrity roasts in the past, the people who are not comedians, who've done the best traditionally, are the ones who fully subscribe to the program, throw out the whole um, their persona of like being the nice guy or the nice girl, and like actually you know be a prick. Like Martha
Yeah.
Stewart killed on that roast because she did something that everyone knows is the opposite of what she is, and that's why it's so funny to see the juxtaposition of this person we all know to be one way acting a complete other way. But because it's a roast, everyone has the license to do that, right? It's the one time that you have the rules of engagement are that you can go full in and say whatever you want, and she took full advantage of it and did a great job. And the people writing the jokes there did a really good job for her too. But ultimately, when we write the jokes for the talent, it has so much more to do with the talent than the jokes that we wrote for them. Like you can have the best jokes, but if they don't subscribe to it and they don't learn them and they don't practice and kind of get comfortable with them, and if they don't go full in, like there's a lot I rewrote a lot of sets during this. So
Hmm.
there was stuff, like I love Tori Wilson. I thought she had one of the better sets for the
Yeah.
wrestlers on the show. And but that's it's because she wanted to do well. I think she would have had an even better set if she went a little bit meaner, because I wrote
Yeah.
some mean shit for her, and she didn't want to make fun of anyone that wasn't Rick. She just wanted to make fun of Rick. And
Yeah.
if she had
I
went
got
down
you.
the line with some of the jokes that I wrote for her, I think it would have been like an even bigger standout. But I was happy to take those jokes back to the fold because I was writing for other people too. So
Yeah.
it just depends who's going to use them, right? So
Was there anybody
um,
from the roast that stood out in particular that you feel like, and I refer to mainly like the wrestlers and like the non-comedians that you feel like I know you mentioned Tori Wilson, that they just really like, you feel like, okay, they wanted, like they were in on this. They put that effort in.
yeah, I think Tori put the effort in. I really, which was awesome. You could tell like Brian Knobs did a good job. Like he listened to Earl, right? Like the people that listen to the comics and trust the comics judgment, like this is roasting is outside of a lot of comedians' wheelhouses. There's roasting
Yeah.
doesn't happen that often. Like not roast battles definitely built that up, like that
Yeah.
whole kind of like league and stuff, and having that available for comics to try this type of comedy is great. But a lot of comics, they've never done this type of shit, and they've never done a celebrity roast, so it is new to even comedians. So for
Yeah.
these other people, um, they're not comedians. They're doing something way out of their comfort zone. Yeah, the ones that bought in. I thought Wendy worked hard on hers. I worked with her on it as well, but it wasn't going great, and I think she was. It wasn't like it was going bad, but I think she knew when to exit. Like she didn't stay up there too long.
Yeah.
She made like I guess a conscious effort to pull the shoot at the right time. I think. Um, I didn't like. I mean, I'll talk about it. I didn't like what Bully Ray did with his set, and I mean,
Yeah. I
I
was
don't
gonna
know the
ask you
guy
about
really.
that.
Like, I didn't get to know him very well, like at the thing. So, I mean, awesome wrestler. Like, fucking love tables, ladders, and chairs, man. Like I love Bubba Ray Dudley, and he's a nice enough guy. But like, you know what? Like when he ripped up the jokes and tried to like have some fucking moment up there where it's like, I'm not gonna make fun of these guys. I love these guys. For me, I thought that kind of did a very big disservice to what the show was. I think
Yeah.
it was disrespectful to John Moses, who worked with him very hard to get him like a really good set, which he wrote. And
I
I thought it was a
understand.
cop out. I thought this is a guy who, you know what, everyone else everyone else did their thing, and I just thought it was a weak move. And he tried to turn it into a love fest, and that gives everyone else the out to turn it into like a Hall of Fame speech. This is a fucking roast, dude.
Yeah.
Like, tell the
These,
fucking roast jokes or don't do it. You're taking up a spot. You're taking up a spot of a comedian that fucking could have used that platform, to like
yeah.
make new fans. You're taking up a spot from a wrestling personality that maybe needs a little bit of a spotlight to like get their career going again. Like there's
Yeah. A little
opportunity
bit
to
of a
like
payday.
put yourself on that platform. If you do well, you can maximize it and good things can come into your orbit. And I thought he wasted that opportunity. That was just like a personal grievance that I had on the roast. I remember just kind of shaking my head when that was going on. And then Moses had to go on after. It was like a love fest and then be mean again, which is
Yeah.
like ultimately you don't want to be that guy. But I mean, good thing John was there to do that because
Oh yeah, and he
people,
delivered the joke so well that it didn't really, even though yeah it was a roast and they were mean jokes, he brought them on so well that it was like, oh well, you're not just up there being a dick. It's like, okay, that's right, this is a roast. We all
yeah, they're
forgot for a
jokes,
second.
right? And it was a long show too, so he was just in a disadvantage. It wasn't a great to be the last guy in the gangbang is never you don't
Never
want to
fun.
be the last guy. Um, but when it's that long of a show. But I mean, ultimately, and people say there's too many videos, but like that gave me enough time to go and take a piss while the show was going on. I almost pissed my pants on the roast. I had to go, okay, the first time I had to piss on stage, they like it was during one of the videos and they had like a guy run with me. They had like a crew member running with me.
Yeah.
The bathroom's so far away. And they got like a walkie-talkie, like 1 minute, 50 seconds. Like they're counting down and I gotta run to get back to the thing. And what happened was like, because I was first, once I was done, I'm in party mode now, and they're bringing me
Yeah.
beers on stage, but they're bringing beers for the whole dais, and they're handing the beer to me because I'm first up on the stage, to like human chain like send the beers down, but no
Yeah.
one drank. Everyone's sending the beers back, so now I had like 3 beers at all times during the roast. I got so drunk. If you watch, you could probably see me just getting more buckled as the event goes on. And by the time Flair got up, I almost pissed myself. I had
Yeah.
to go to the bathroom so bad, and I'm like, I can't get up during the middle of Ric Flair's, like roast
Yeah.
segment. Like I can't disrespect like that. I would have pissed my pants for Ric Flair. That's how much I love Ric Flair. I would have pissed myself for old Ricky. I mean, he
Yeah, I
probably
saw
pissed
you.
himself too. He was pretty fucking drunk.
Yeah, I saw you and I saw you after that night. I saw you after the roast, and we talked for a few minutes. I grabbed a
Yeah.
picture with you, and you all red in the face. You could tell you had been drinking, man.
Oh yeah, yeah. I was
Full party
blasted.
mode. But that's cool. So while we're on the topic of roast, is there any celebrity or any comedian that you want to roast? Like that, if you could check that off your bucket list, that'd be cool.
Hmm. Yeah, I don't know if there's anyone that like it's hard to say who I would love to roast. I mean, I guess it would be cool to like do something around I mean Hulk Hogan would be sweet. Like in terms of like
Yeah.
wrestling, like that would be pretty cool. Um yeah, I don't know. I just like the process. It doesn't really matter to me who it is as long as they're
I got you.
interesting. You know what I mean?
That's
And like
cool.
the more people that are watching, the better. I love to show off a
Yeah.
little bit of a
Hey.
showboat.
Oh yeah. There's nothing wrong with that. That's great, man. That's great. Shoot. Man,
Yeah,
it's crazy life you live, man. It's crazy life.
it's a different lifestyle for sure, and like these type of events, they don't happen that often. The big celebrity
Yeah.
roast, like this was like the Super Bowl of roast for me to be able to come in and do like Flair's an icon. Like you put it up against like the Comedy Central roast, there might have been a bit of a like there's like a little bit bigger production budget behind those, but I mean, they did a good job, I thought, with Flair roast. I thought they did a phenomenal job making the set look super pro. They treated us all first class. They're just star cast and Thuzio, and Triller, all those guys, Fight TV, they're all like really good to us. And I had the best time, and I thought they did a great job with it. And Flair is an icon. Like to me, I was way, they did like the Alec Baldwin roast, the Charlie Sheen roast on Comedy Central, and those are all, Bieber, Trump, all that. Those are fun roasts. Like obviously you would like want to be on any of those if you're a comedian.
Yeah.
But like the Flair roast was different because it's like this is actually someone that I looked up to Flair when watching wrestling. I grew up watching wrestling, and I always watched Flair promos all the time, like before any of this came about. And like I'd always watch Flair promos and like get hyped up. I
Oh
love
yeah.
the showmanship and like the cockiness is so funny to me.
How could you not, man? How could you not? So, what areas are you touring in right now? What parts of the U.S. are you getting to see right around this time?
Where else am I performing, you mean? Like
Yeah.
yeah, so right now mostly Canada. Right now it's all Canadian stuff. I'm doing, a lot of stuff in Ontario region. So if you're Canadian and you're listening to this, yeah, just check me out, tylermorrison.ca. I'll have a whole bunch of that's the Canadian websites.ca. I'll be
Nice.
throwing all the new tour dates up there soon, and you can check me out on Crave TV. My Roast Battle Canada episode is on there if you're Canadian, or you know what, you can probably get a VPN blocker in the US and you can get it too.
Oh yeah, for
But
sure.
I didn't say that because that's
All we have to say about it is that if you really want to watch it that bad, there's ways out there to find it.
yeah, exactly. And watch the roast of Ric Flair on Fight TV. You can get
Oh
that
yeah.
pay-per-view still. Um, Yeah, and I got a bunch. I have a special on YouTube, like two of my stand-up specials. You can get them for free. Too Soon is the latest one, and that's on YouTube. You just type in Tyler Morrison Too Soon. So
So
those are
when you're traveling, you going by car, you going by plane? What's that preferred
well,
mode of travel?
depending on the area. Like so, a lot of it I do by car, but like I'll go if it's across the country or whatever. Yeah, like plane. They, I'm
That's
not
good.
driving across Canada. It's they
Do
can
you do
fly
you
me.
like do you road trip with a lot of different comedians like when you're doing different shows like that or travel
Yeah.
solo?
So I got a good buddy, Rob Mayhew, that I tour with a bunch, and my buddies Jared Campbell and Tom O'Donnell. We've done a bunch of shows touring together, and then Moses when we do stuff. So yeah, I always find it fun to travel with the comedians that you want to work with. Some of the gigs that you get put on, it's like you don't know the comics, and that's fine. You get to meet new comics,
Yeah.
but it is awesome when you get to pick and choose the road dogs that you get to go with. I mean, there was one I was doing in this place called Fort St. John, BC. So imagine Vancouver, Canada, which is north of Seattle, and then 17 hours straight up on like the Alaskan highway.
Yeah.
It's just in the middle of nowhere. They flew us in, and this gig is like I heard it was like a real hell gig. Like the last comedian that was in there, like one of the audience members came on stage and whipped out his cock, and like the comics were all fucking scared to do the gig, I guess.
Jesus
And
Christ.
and they asked me if I wanted to headline. And I'm like, they're like, or you could go in middle and go with Tim Steves, and Tim Steves is one of my absolute favorite Canadian comics. He's the coolest dude, and I was like, oh, I'll take less money and go there with Tim Steves. We'll have way more fun. You get to go with one of your buddies, and he's like one of the OG stand up comics, and you get to learn so much, and being around some of these like these guys who've been doing it longer than you. Like I never, even though I've been doing this 20 years, I never skip out on an opportunity to work with a guy like Tim, who's just first class and just such a funny dude. And obviously, it's a way better weekend. And you're with a buddy who, if you get into a brawl, that guy's not running away. We'll punch our
Yeah.
way out of the fucking venue.
Okay. All right. So you mentioned earlier you traveling a lot on the weekend, so that leaves your weeks pretty open. So what you doing in your free time? You watching TV, watching movies, playing video games? What's your hobbies looking like?
Yeah, a little bit of all that. Like I love listening to music. I'm a big fan of like punk rock, and I love hair metal. It's the
Yeah.
best. And then yeah, listen to music. I do play a bit of video games, not like the new stuff though. Like I have this Sumosis system. It has like thousands of video games. So I have like every game from the original Nintendo, every game from the
Okay.
original Sega,
So
all that. And
you're rocking the old school set.
that's right, man. I'm totally old
Okay.
school with it, and I love it. So yeah, I
Nice.
do that. And then yeah, it's mostly family stuff, like family time around, when I'm home. So that's kind of that. I watch football and baseball and all those things. I don't watch much hockey anymore. The
Oh yeah.
games, it's a lot. It's a lot softer than it used to be. There used to be way more fights, and this is a different era. I feel like I grew up during a very like a golden age of hockey. I got to see a lot of great stuff, and now it's a lot different. So I'm happy with what I've seen enough.
Do you think, while we're on the topic of that, do you think sports and just in general has changed over the years?
Well, money's certainly become a big thing. Like sports used to be very much, about pride,
Yeah,
and like money changes things big time. Guys are much more concerned, and also I got to say, like we know a lot more about the concussions and the stuff that these guys go through too. So it certainly factors into the decisions about how you play a game now too, and what you're really willing to risk for a sport,
yeah.
the quality of life, and so there are these things that we know a little bit more about now too that have factored into it. So it's not just money, um, but yeah, I mean, it was a lot better when we didn't know shit. It's just a bunch of
Yeah.
barbarians bashing their heads together.
I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I want to see if I'm just jaded in this or if I'm not alone. It feels like as a whole, I've become bigger into wrestling because other sports aren't as entertaining anymore. Like I don't
Yeah,
know, like I said, I don't know maybe if it's just post COVID and everything, but just football doesn't strike the same chord for me anymore. And
used to
like
be more violent.
yeah. Well, not only that, like I used to be big into soccer too. And it just as a whole, just games don't seem as entertaining, not as much, I guess, back and forth anymore for some reason. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just me getting old.
Yeah, I've been watching lots of like MMA, UFC is my thing. I wrestling, I'll probably get back into it a little bit. I didn't watch wrestling for a long, long time. And
Yeah.
then but I grew up watching it, since I was a kid till probably, when I was like in my early 20s, I kind of got out of it, but I got to see the whole Attitude Era and
Yeah.
rock and wrestling up to Attitude. That's the best time anyway.
Oh yeah.
So it'll be cool to see what they do with Vince out and Triple H and Shawn Michaels running the show at WWE. I think we might be in for some really good entertainment. And I think the guys at AEW are doing good stuff too, like from what I've seen.
Oh yeah. Speaking of UFC, did you see the fight last night?
I didn't watch it, but I did watch I did
Saw
catch the
the
fights like
knockout.
after I had a show last night, so I did watch
Okay.
the highlights of it. Yeah, pretty amazing to pull that one off. I mean, there's always someone that's got your number, right? And you can only go undefeated for so, or it's there's always just someone that's gonna their style is gonna fuck you up, or you're gonna make a mistake, and it just happens in a blink of an eye. Hopefully, Usman comes back and
Yeah.
improves from his loss, and it's a
You gotta
learning
get him on a
experience, and we
pod,
get some
man.
more classics from him.
Oh yeah. You gotta get him on a pod, dude.
Oh yeah,
Here's some of them stories.
let
Oh
him clear those cobwebs before, and then
yeah. Yeah, man. Shoot.
it
So,
was
so just
that fight with
sports.
Rockhold too was pretty wild.
Yeah,
Rockhold and what's his name there? Was it
I only saw. I didn't
Paulo
actually watch the fight either.
Paulo Costa?
I just saw the one knockout. You said you were a fan, so I wanted to bring it up. So I just yeah, I saw it, and when I saw it, I kind of tried to analyze it, and it looks like he just he thought he was going for a punch, and there was that foot.
Yeah, man, that was a big head kick. Big head kick with all the, so much on the line. Epic.
Oh yeah,
Epic.
it was crazy.
It's
It
one
was
of
a good
those
match, though.
immortal moments in UFC. It's to
Yeah.
be talked about forever.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So
Like
cool.
almost like that knockout of the year. I think it was last year where the guy had like the spinning kick knockout. Did you see that one?
Oh, that was crazy. Yeah.
That was cool. Did you ever hear the story behind that when he told the story about like when he landed that?
No.
So I heard in an interview where he said he was just like so completely shocked. He was like, because it's one of those moves that you practice all the time in training, but you never
Hmm.
really expect it to hit. It's just one of those, hey, we'll try it. If we'll throw it at the wind, like throwing mud at like throwing shit at the wall, see if
Hmm.
it sticks. And he's like, and that day, man, he just caught. And he's like, and when it caught, he's like, and I turned around, he's like, I almost didn't believe the shit. I was like, damn. I'm like, but how
Yeah.
could you? I mean, like like he said, a move like that almost nobody expects you to hit, and you just turn around and whip out an enziguri on his ass.
Just just a Hail Mary kick.
Yeah, it was
So
insane.
cool.
You got any stories like that where you thrown any wild kicks?
No, I never throw any kicks. I get my ass kicked.
Were
No,
you more of
I
like,
there was a couple like fights where where I was starting to get more and more comfortable in it.
yeah,
Usually when you first start out fighting, you just see red and you just go for it. And then once
yeah.
you get a little bit more comfortable in a fight, then you can like start doing like other moves. Like I remember being excited, throwing a few knees and stuff. But like I'm not very you know, acrobatic. So no spinning wheel kicks or any of that shit.
So when it comes to you fighting, back in your heyday, back in
Yeah.
the fight days, were you more of like a brawler? Were you more of like a wrestler? Or,
Oh, brawler for sure. Like yeah. And I wasn't really like I was smaller back then. Like I put on some boozing weight over the years.
yeah,
But back then I was working like a landscaping job. So I was like actually pretty thin. Like I was wiry. When I
yeah.
was being in fights, I was like like cut like 170 and fast. I would if I was in a fight, it would be I was more of a speed merchant. I wasn't like knocking dudes out. I'm like clocking in at like 220 now. Like I haven't hit anyone at 220. I can't wait to fucking crack someone with all this beer fat behind it. Let's see what happens.
It's been 12 years in the making, boy.
No, I avoid it. It's the you know what like after a certain age too, you're just like why am I doing this? Unless it's your living and you're a pro,
Yeah.
there isn't a lot of point. You have to defend yourself. You can't put up with shit from people either.
Oh yeah, for
But
sure.
you know what I mean. I don't go looking for it. Let's say that.
So I think we're gonna wrap up today with one last topic that I love talking about with comedians, mainly because the TikToks absolutely crack me up.
Okay.
Um, we're gonna talk about hecklers, man. How do
Oh,
you,
okay.
yeah, how do you personally deal with hecklers?
It's a case by case situation, right? So
Yeah,
a lot of the time you want to understand who this heckler is, why they're heckling. If you can read that play real quick, you
yeah,
can avoid making a mistake. Like sometimes they're just yelling out because they're enjoying the show. Like, so you don't want to like hit them too hard. But
I got you.
sometimes they're like pissed off about something and they're going to be a bigger problem. I find if it's like a guy, it's easier to shame him. Um, and easier to turn an audience against him. Like he'll shut down. How do I put it? If you say something that turns the crowd on that person realizes they're very alone and very small in that moment. So if
Yeah,
the crowd's all going, like I remember um, a guy heckling me, and this is like it's not even that it's like the most clever line, but what it does is clever. I say that's good. Let me hear just the people with jobs now, and then they all cheer. The whole room cheers. So what it does is it turns the audience
yeah,
clearly against that person in one shot, and you can shut that heckler down real quick. But if it's a woman they don't like when they're, when women, I mean, no one likes to be told to shut the fuck up, but like a
Yeah.
drunk woman on wine is like probably the worst heckler to diffuse because they don't fucking rationally think when they're, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
they're not listening to their friends that are telling them to shut up, and like
Yeah.
they don't, the whole crowd booing them, like they don't, there's like a certain thing that gets turned off when they're drinking wine and they're like an entitled white fucking cunt. And so that's a different type of heckler, right? Because if you're me and you go at them too hard,
Mhm.
you could turn it into a whole thing. I mean, I've made so many women cry, like
Yeah.
when I'm that are like hecklers and stuff like that, just because you have to deal with them. But
Yeah.
the idea is to try and diffuse them. I don't know. It can be tough, but I think those are the toughest ones. Um, there's one. The other one I hate. This other type of heckler I hate is the guy that gives you fake answers. Like that. That's just a piece of shit for the sake of being a piece of shit.
You got like
Like
a
the guy's
story
just there
corner.
because he wants to, disrupt the show. Those
Yeah.
guys are a problem. I had one in Niagara Falls. I was doing the Yuck Yucks Comedy Club there, and off to the side of the stage, it's very dark. You cannot see the people in the crowd, so I couldn't
Yeah.
see this guy. And he was heckling the other comics before, and the other comics were kind of trying to deal with him, but they weren't getting much. And then I go up, and he yells something out, and I ask him what his name is. He's like, Ricky. I'm like, okay, Ricky, like, what do you do? He's like, oh, I'm a trailer park supervisor. So I realized really quick, he's pretending to be one of the Trailer Park Boys, the TV show. You guys, I
Yeah.
think it's pretty popular in America,
Oh
but
yeah.
it's a Canadian show. So I'm like, oh, he's just like, he thinks he's funny and he's giving me false information. So I really have nothing that I can use to hurt him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I could tell the crowd really wanted me to fucking smash this guy.
I
And
got
if I
you.
don't smash him, I'm going to lose face with the crowd. And then I lose the respect from the show. Then they want, you got to be the leader up there if you're the comic.
Oh
And
yeah.
they want to follow the leader. But if their leader isn't capable, they're going to revolt. So it's just legitimately in this situation. I have to do something here and I don't have much to work with. So I was about to like go back to my act. I'm like, I can't. They want blood. They need this guy to go down. So I'm like, all right, go right back into the darkness. I'm talking to this dark sea of people, and I can't see who it is. And so
Yeah.
I go, who are you with tonight? He goes, oh, I no. I go, do you normally embarrass the fucking people that you come out to a show with? Do you normally, make them look like losers too? And I
Yeah.
go, who are you with? And he's like, my uncle. I'm like, okay. And I go, oh, so that's who molested you. And that's when the place just blew up. And then I had him, and then they left. Like the whole this guy
Yeah.
and his group, they stormed out. They're such pussies, they could dish it out but couldn't take it.
Yeah.
And
That's great.
and so, yeah, that's a tough situation, right? But it's so much about if someone heckles you, they're really challenging the leader, and you're the king up there. You got to cut off the fucking head, and you do have that. You have to rule up there. You cannot let someone get the better of you because it's just the crowd can sense weakness. We're animals. Stand-up comedy is so primitive. It's they can sense it. If you tell a joke that's like an edgy, dark joke, but you
Yeah.
don't fully commit to it or like believe in it, or you're like a little bit like awkward, you can't backpedal on it if it doesn't go good. You got to double down. You got to stay calm in the pocket. You got to act like it's their fucking fault for not liking it, even if it didn't go good. You have to be totally comfortable just dropping the hammer and staying comfortable in the silence. Because the second you backpedal or show weakness, they will not respect you anymore. And then there's no more of those jokes for you. You don't get
Yeah.
to win them over through that. You have to have confidence. If you tell a joke and they don't laugh, you're like, oh, I'm just kidding. Anytime you say I'm just kidding, it's like, yeah, we know you're fucking kidding. We paid for you to fucking joke up here. We know. Like that's what they're thinking.
That's why we're here.
So but if you watch my special too soon. This is an interesting special, and I'll tell you, it's not just because it's my comedy, but it's a show where the crowd, I'd say probably 60% of the crowd really liked me, and about 40% were not on board. They did not like me, but they're like vocal about it. And the front row just hates my guts. And like there's people that yell out in the middle of it, and like they had to carry a guy in a wheelchair out of the show. I walked at least 25 people, um, which is not the most people that I've walked on a show where they've stormed out. That's like
Yeah.
that's a it's still a good number, but um, it's always interesting when you're doing the show and you're seeing people walking out trying to get their money back, fighting with the management, and like shit just going off everywhere.
Yeah.
And this is during my special. Like I'm taping this. Like they should have done their homework first of all on who they're coming to see. But I'm not famous, so I also expect a lot of the times when I'm doing a comedy club, it's more of like a general audience too, right?
Yeah.
So I typically would have the material that I could have killed with this crowd if I just was running like my greatest hits, but I'm doing a specific set that I want to go out universally.
Yeah.
And I've recorded a bunch of the other stuff on other specials and albums before, like the stuff that like I could have won that crowd with, but it's like no, I have a job that I'm doing now, and
Yeah.
we're shooting something specific here, so it's there's fewer parameters to work with when you're shooting a special. Um, but yeah, it's an interesting show to watch. I think it's more fun, probably more fun to watch it on the video than to be in the room. But I don't know, but the people seem to have a good time that liked it. And then, like an old man wanted to fight me after the show, like a 70-year-old man wanted to fight me after. We don't that's not on video, but you'll see him if you watch at the very end. And spoiler alert, but if you watch to the end, you just watch for this. As I'm walking off stage, this old man starts yelling at me, and I
Yeah.
look at him and I blow him a kiss like a bad guy wrestler walking off stage. And you see him give me the middle finger.
Yeah.
And he flips me off as I'm walking off. And I had my producer partner Tyler Shazma zoom in on the middle finger, and that's how like the fucking special ends. It's like the most punk rock comedy moment. It's so perfect. And it just really put the fucking stamp on what the special is.
Yeah. I would say there goes your fight after 12 years. I mean, with all you may kill that man.
What's that?
I said I would say, hey, there goes your fight after 12 years, but I mean, let's be honest, you may kill that man.
Oh yeah, I would have rinsed that old prick. Oh yeah, he would. No, he was. I don't think he spoke English very well, and he was with like some women in the front that weren't liking it. I feel like he's got that like, that immigrant dad vibe going, like where he feels like he needs to stand up for the women because this is too crude, and
Yeah.
that's what was going on, I think. And we did have like, there was a thing where him and I did have a back and forth, but I cut it out of the special because it fucked up one of my bits that I wanted on the special, because we shot two shows. We
Yeah.
mostly used the one show, but he did fuck up one of my bits because he interrupted me. And the kind of back and forth didn't really go anywhere. It was just sort of like an uncomfortable situation. Then I had to dig out of the hole,
Yeah.
which happens. But it's because he couldn't speak English very well. And then I think I said, I'm like, in what language would this even be funny to you then? Like, I don't. Then I think the crowd just like took that as like, ooh, they were uncomfortable by
Yeah.
that comment. And
How do
I
you,
wasn't even trying to be racist or anything like that. It was just straight up like, you don't understand what I'm saying, so you're just hearing, fuck and shit.
yeah.
So
How do you feel about that? About people who got like, I'll be honest with you, before I even ask you the question, this is something that truly pisses me off. Is when people pay money to go to a keyword comedy show and then get offended.
yeah, I mean, the problem with being offended by stuff is like, first of all, that's you saying that you're more important than everyone else there to vocalize that. Like you're allowed to be offended. You're allowed to like everyone's gonna have something that's close to them that they're a little sensitive about. But that's what
Yeah,
comedy's sort of about is like exploring all these things and like making fun of everything equally. And I think that there's that people forget that you know comedy is supposed to be we unite each other by making fun of ourselves. That's and
yeah,
making fun of all of our flaws, not just one set of things. And everyone's they're all these people. They're always cool with you making fun of everyone else's fucking flaw until you hit theirs, and then So there's a very I feel like a selfishness and an entitlement towards people that vocalize that I'm offended. Like
yeah,
suck it up. We'll fucking be moving on to like the next fucking topic in a minute.
yeah.
Shut the fuck up. You know what I mean? You're at a live show. Anything can happen, and I do think that there is a little bit of that. But you are allowed to be offended by something. I mean,
Oh
listen,
yeah,
you're allowed to have your opinion, and quite often, the jokes that we've written are targeted to. It's supposed to be offensive.
oh
So
yeah,
like, I can't get mad when someone gets offended because yeah, I was trying to fucking offend that loser that takes their
yeah,
life too fucking seriously. Like kind of that's kind of it. Sometimes you tell a joke about someone or something and they're going to be in the crowd. And sometimes a lot of those people are going to be in the crowd,
hmm,
especially if you're not famous. If you're not like where Anthony Jeselnik is, where he has a very defined audience that come out to hear those type of jokes. Like imagine
yeah,
Anthony Jeselnik not being famous, going
yeah,
around and doing like general audience shows. He'd be walking rooms all the time
yeah,
because the jokes are too dark for a lot of the people. So once you cultivate that niche following that knows you, then it makes it a lot easier. But when you go into the general public, and then also when you put it online, more people are going to see it online, and then they're a lot more vocal on their keyboards because there's no consequence to that.
yeah.
Um, and we see it all the time. All the internet tough guys talking shit.
Oh yeah.
Um, but that's just it, man. If they're not talking about you, you're fucking, maybe you're not that relevant, and it's tough to get relevant. It's tough to get known. I mean,
Oh yeah.
I'm still fucking trying to get known.
Both of us, man. Both of us. I
Yeah.
started work. I started working on stand like little bits here myself. I think I'm gonna try out an open mic night here soon.
Yeah, it's one of those things brick by brick you build the career and you build the act and you get confident and you grow into your persona and your jokes, and when your jokes and your persona match up, things start happening. And I'm really hoping like opportunities like the Ric Flair roast and things like that start, more of those come my way because it's nice to get on a big platform and a lot of people see you and do what you
Yeah.
love to do. So
Oh yeah. Well, Tyler, man, what can I say, man? It has been an absolute blast talking to you today, dude.
hey, thanks for having me, man. I appreciate
Yeah.
you asking. It was great to meet you down there, and I was excited to do your podcast. So
Oh yeah. And yeah, like I said, hopefully we get to talk more and I can get you back on a future episode. Anything you want to plug before we head out here? Any
yeah, I'll
upcoming
plug a
shows
couple
and
things.
shout outs
So
or
yeah,
anything?
if you want to check out my stand-up special, Too Soon, it's on YouTube. And also my podcast, Fight Stories with John Moses. That's all on YouTube and anywhere you get your podcasts, the Apple Podcasts and all that. We're on that shit. And Decentral Comedy, if you want to check out Fight Stories, you can watch us in the metaverse every Friday at Decentral Comedy Club in Decentraland. So try that out. Check out a new way to consume comedy entertainment. We're doing it in the metaverse right now with Decentral Comedy.
Oh,
So yeah, those are probably the main things that I want to hype up. And follow me on social media. I'm on
yeah.
Twitter at Tyler Morrison 1 and Instagram Tyler Morrison 123 because some other prick took Tyler Morrison 1.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I'll make sure whenever I post this, I'll get you tagged in it so they can click link direct to your YouTube. Y'all go follow them on YouTube too. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good
Yeah.
stuff. For sure. All right. Well, thank you guys. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Tyler, it's been awesome, man. And we'll talk to you guys next week.